Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great start to your day. So we'll go ahead and talk about this week's module. So we're in week number 4. We're over halfway done, but we'll also be doing let me move this real quick, the midterm this week. So we'll be going over chapters 10 through 14. Now, they're pretty extensive chapters. So again, make sure you read backwards to forwards, look for the bolded words, look for the type under the pictures, make note of some of the pages in the back after the study questions. A lot of good information there, okay? So overview and outcomes, you can go through that. What I did not assign that is on the syllabus is the video for using RICE. I believe that the discussion covers that pretty well, and a lot of us have experience with using the REST, ICE, compression, elevation when we're dealing with an injury. So just make sure, go over that in the chapter, go through the discussion, and we won't do a video on that. Okay, there's quite a bit to do this week as it is. So I just want to make sure that you have time to take your midterm and do the best you can. All right, so we have chapter reading chapters 10 through 14. Discussions this week are on burns, okay, using RICE, concussion scenario, and injuries to check. So again, quite a bit of things to go over, and some things that we probably all have a little bit of experience in. I think most of us have had a sunburn or a burn of some sort using RICE, using ICE, okay. Concussion, either maybe we've had a concussion or know somebody that has, so we'll go over that, and then some injuries to check in some areas such as the abdomen, the chest, and the pelvis, okay. So the only videos, these are the videos for you to watch, okay, so take some time to watch those and how to deal with some injuries there. And then the assignments this week, you have the question and answer assignment. Remember, you're answering the ready to respond questions, and I put the corresponding page numbers to those questions on the assignment instructions. So don't do all the study questions, there's a lot of them to do, but definitely study those study questions for the tests, okay, and the quizzes. All right, so the only demonstration this week is the sling video, and I posted a video on there as well, so you can kind of see an example. What you'll be using is a t-shirt or a scarf or both. Since that at home we don't have triangle bandages at home, I'm not going to force you to go out and get those, and not all of us have ACE bandages either, and there's a video showing those 2 different ways of making a sling, but I want you to use either a t-shirt or a scarf, and you'll see from the video how to use those. Okay, and then you have a midterm exam this week, so make sure you go through that, answer everything, put something down for every question. I love to give points, so do the best you can with that. Okay, and then we have our weekly recap. All right, so that is it for the week, as if that's not enough, that's a lot. And again, you can always ask me any questions you may have through email, remind, or come to an office hour on Wednesday. The office hour link is posted in your announcements, and it's on Zoom. All right, have a fantastic day and a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.